kidding. Our next speaker is Mr. Oliver Borr. He is the CEO of Inabox. It is everything you need in a box. I really wanted Oliver to be here today and to give you all of his wisdom because he has been so instrumental in helping me scale and level up and save my sanity. I mean, it looks like he probably is doing a terrible job at that. But this is just, a big giant event and a unique circumstance. So don't judge me on the last 2 days and don't use that to judge Oliver because what you're about to hear is going to be so valuable. So get ready to take notes. Ladies and gentlemen, Oliver Borr.
All right, everything's working. How are we doing today, guys? I love it. So we're more than halfway now into the second day, and I think that we kept on talking about the battle of attrition, right? That's basically what it is. You've got to keep on going, and I think that's amazing that you guys are still here, ready to go right now. I mean, I know a lot of you guys were networking last night until like 2 in the morning, so amazing job, guys. Hal Elrod was here. That's pretty dope. Like, I changed my life, legit. I still wake up at 8 in the morning, but I feel really bad about it now. Okay, so today, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm going to be talking about is, actually one more thing before I start. Stephanie Heiser, this is a hell of an event, right, guys? Yeah. So me and Stephanie were working together when she first got the opportunity to kind of create this mastermind, I mean, Stephanie will always tell, like, it's all fine, it's all good. But the way that she said it changed as time went on. In the beginning, it was like, this is amazing, I'm so happy to be doing this. It was like, this is pretty cool, I'm doing this. And then it was like, everything's fine. See, I'm smiling, everything's good. Okay, but today, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be teaching you all how to build a scalable real estate business. And that business is going to be able to make more money for you and require less of your time. And that's really what scale is about. It's about being able to step out of it to work on your business and not in it. And the way that we do this is it's going to allow you to not have to rely on cold outreach, you're not going to have to rely on an agency or brokerage. I know some people spoke about having to rely on other companies, other people, other industries, and you can't really scale if that's what you've got to do. So what is the difference between scale and growth? So people kind of throw those words around as if they're interchangeable. They're not, because growth is when you have an association of time and money. When you work X amount of dollars, and then when you work X amount of time and you make X amount of dollars, that's growth. I think Shelby was talking about that before with the quadrant, right? That was Robert Kiyosaki. As opposed to scale is when you disassociate time and money. So I can work X amount of time, and it has no relation to the amount of money that I'm going to be making. So I'm going to ask you guys a question. Just at any point in time, raise your hand if this sounds like you. You spend hours learning new strategies on YouTube, but nothing that you're learning is actually making you any money. Does that ever happen? Okay, a little bit. You've tried working with expensive professionals, but every time you do, you find yourself consistently where you started. Right? Show of hands, guys? Okay, a little bit. Managed to take in enough information that now your brain is basically just like a massive maze of information. You have no way of compartmentalizing it, and now you're lost, probably more so than you were before. Right? Show of hands? Fantastic. You know that there are things that you should be doing in your business. You just don't know what those things are. Again, show of hands, guys? Fantastic. I'm almost at the end, guys. Don't worry. You know that you should be leveraging more technologies and tools and this and that in your business, but there's so many people telling you that this is the new thing, this is what you got to do. You have no idea where to start. But I'm going to tell you right now, it's not your fault. And the reason is because as you were becoming licensed, you probably learned everything about real estate, right? This is what you got to look for. This is how a home maybe will have higher risk of asbestos in the home. These are the different roofing structures. These are the legislations in your state. And that's all good and fine and everything, but not really anything about the business of real estate. And the challenge that you're faced with is that when people actually do want to give you advice, and now that you're licensed and everybody's like, go on and be successful, it's like, come on, you gotta hustle, bro. You just gotta keep on trying. Or social media, that's where it's at. It's like, I don't know what that means. That GIF was moving when I put it in there, I promise. It was pretty funny. But that's the problem that we face. So contrary to what you may believe or may have been told, in order to scale your business, you don't need to rely solely on cold outreach. And that's really challenging, right? Like, it's such an impossible thing to do. Well, not impossible, but it's very difficult. You don't need a ton of money to invest. You don't need to be a tech-savvy or social media person. You don't need any of that. You just need to prioritize scale over growth. So there's those two words again. We're going to get back into that. So now I want you to imagine something. Imagine living a life of financial freedom where you can afford that nice car, you can afford that house at the top of the hill, you can go on vacations whenever you want with your family. Imagine actually being able to create your own schedule, because we all got into this game to do that. Imagine actually being able to do it and not just telling everybody that you can do it, but not actually doing it. Imagine having a consistent flow of transactions and not having to start from zero every single month. You may be closer to it than you think. Now, I want you to write the answers down in your notebooks to this. Consider this. Consider this. Let's call this guy Bob the builder, right? We all know Bob the builder. Let's call this guy Bob. So Bob in his head has visions of grandeur. He wants to build himself a massive skyrise. So he does what any other hard-working blue-collar American does, is he gets his tool belt together, toolkit, and he gets to work. And he starts, doing the hammering into the wood. I'm not much of a builder myself. I mean, physically, I'm not a builder, whatever. Mentally, a little bit different, but. So he starts doing that. And sure enough, minutes turn into hours, turn into days, turn into weeks, turn into months, turn into years. And before you know it, well, not before you know it, after a while, he's super proud of what he's built, and he goes out and he shows his friends and family, look at this amazing skyrise that I just built. And that's what it looks like. Because I don't care how hard you're gonna work, a guy with a tool belt, a toolkit, does not build that. It doesn't happen. So let's say this guy right now. So that's growth, the first one. Let's say this guy right now. He wants to build the same thing. But instead of just getting his hammer and nails together and going to work, he starts planning and he gets a team together and he starts to gather the right systems, processes, people to do what he can't do by himself. How many times have you heard it's not how, it's who? He starts doing that. And then at the end of it, he creates something that the first guy wanted to but couldn't, because he built the plan, he automated the process, and he built something that scales. So if we're looking at ourselves right now, we're looking at our businesses, which one are you building? Which one will you be building? Are you building a business that grows, that turns into a really beautiful shack, or are you building a business that scales? So my goal today is to show you how one small shift in mindset is going to change everything for you, and that is this. You are no longer real estate agents. Forget that word. You're real estate business owners now. What's the difference between an agent and an owner? This is Jeff Bezos. You may have heard of him. Is he an e-commerce agent? No, he's a business owner. He owns Amazon. He owns an e-commerce company, the biggest. This guy right here, Elon Musk, is he a travel agent? No. This guy owns SpaceX. He owns Tesla. If you're building a shack, you're working by yourself, you're an agent, right? When's the last time Jeff Bezos emailed you just to be like, hey, how's Amazon going? How are you guys? No, it doesn't happen, right? Maybe it started something like that, but that's an agent. We're trying to build an ownership. We're trying to build a business right now. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. I wasn't exactly a straight A student when I was in school, but I was good at three things. Number one, I was good at singing, relatively. Don't ask me to sing. I was good at sports, not as good as Elliot. As soon as I saw him, I was like, crap, do I have enough time to change my slides? Still up there. Don't ask me to play soccer with you either. No, I'm actually pretty good. And then lastly, I was good at, I know I said I'm not good at building things. I meant building like projects, right? Whenever we were in school, for example, and we had to build like a whole city or town or community, build like brochures for this or that, I was all over that. Not a straight A student, but I loved that stuff. So I wasn't quite good enough to be a professional athlete, so forget about that. Singing isn't the best career for a family man, and that's my why. My family is everything to me. Also, I'm probably not good enough to be a professional singer. Actually, nowadays, I'm not sure, but. So I decided that I wanted to build something that was absolutely epic, and so I did. It started out on the, right there with the Real Marketer podcast. I still have that podcast. That's how I got connected with a lot of you very fine people. And then Inabox also. I was also featured in a few magazines and publications. Yahoo Finance in 2021 called my company Borr Digital, which I'm not going to talk about now. It's a lead generation company. They named me as one of the top 10 marketing agencies for real estate agents of 2021. Disrupt featured me also at the time that I was doing Borr Digital, because I was really pushing for brokerages and team leaders and stuff, and just trying to answer the question that I still, as much as I found answers to it, this is everything that I do. This is what drives me, is what makes it so damn hard to be a real estate agent? Why is it so hard? Because it's not hard to get licensed, right? Every transaction on average is over $10,000. I looked that up. I know it might sound like a lot in your area, but you can make a ton of money. Why is it so hard? Why is that 90% of agents will fail, 92 in 5 years? That's the question that I'm always trying to answer. So the reason that I do what I do, personally speaking, is I want to always provide the best life for my family. I want to show them a life where they never have financial hardships. And I want to show them, my wife and 2 kids, that they can achieve anything with hard work, persistence, and self-introspection. The reason I use that word, because I'm only using 3 words here, self-introspection for me is all about humility. Because you cannot grow unless you're able to look at yourself and figure out where you're deficient. I want to give them a sense of security and comfort knowing that someone that they love and respect will always be in their corner no matter what, and most importantly, I just want them to be proud of me. And that drives everything that I do. And so for them, I work tirelessly and efficiently to have a life of time, location, and financial freedom. Now, I'm young. I'm still at the point now that I have the energy. I can push myself. I can work harder than maybe I tell other people to work. But every single time that I do something, I'm trying to be efficient. I was that kid where when my dad would tell me to mow the lawn when I was younger, I would say, can I just hire somebody to do it? He'd be like, it's English, right? He'd like, I told you, Oliver, you have to go and do it yourself. I said, Dad, it's my money. Can't I just go and hire someone? He's like, Oliver, I'm teaching you about values right now and hard work and stuff. I'm still not convinced. I still probably should have hired somebody. Unfortunately, at the time, I couldn't do it. But I've learned that there's a very specific way to do things in business in order to do it right. And that's what I'm going to show you today. I want to show you how you can have a life of time, location, and financial freedom. Here's that word again, by scaling your business. So get back to the original question that we were talking about. What is the difference between growth or scale? So this is where I want you to write down the answers in your notebooks if you haven't yet already. I want you to do something for me. Think about what these concepts mean to you. And let's look at 10 years. I like Gary Keller, for example, The One Thing. Wonderful, wonderful book. And he talks about setting your life up in 10 years and breaking it down. If I want to be there in 10 years, what do I need to be in 9, 8, 7, all the way back down to in 2 weeks, in 1 week, tomorrow, in 3 days, tomorrow, right now, what do I need to be doing? So success. Let's look at success in 10 years from now. I know that I'm successful when, and answer that question. What does success mean to you? In 10 years from now, when you're successful, what does your life look like? Cast as wide a net as possible, because if you cast that wide net, you could break it down into smaller micro goals. And that's really what it's all about. Let's look at the next one. Sorry if you guys are still writing. Freedom. I will know in 10 years from now, or whenever it happens for me, the way that I know that I'm truly free is when, finish that sentence. What has to happen for you to know that you are free? Keep it going. Sorry if I'm going fast. At any point in time, if you want me to slow down, please do let me know. Fun. I'm having the most fun when, what are you doing? Are you jumping off of like a Starman? Whatever that thing was, the guy was jumping off of space. For me, that's not fun. Are you running? What? No, for you? Okay, yeah. Yeah, are you running by the waterfront? Are you reading a book? Right? Are you skydiving? I don't know. Whatever it looks like for you. What is fun for you? And lastly, and I think this is the one that oftentimes gets neglected, and this is why when people don't scale, they're actually being selfish, fulfillment. And we've spoken a lot about goals this conference, and actually more so probably than I was expecting, which is fantastic to see, but we maybe mentioned it a couple times, but fulfillment is something that's often overlooked. Because a life of lavish freedom and fun and awesome, everything like that, without fulfillment, like, what are you doing it for, right? So are you fulfilled when you're giving back to your community, when you're spending time with the people that you love, when you're standing on stage like I am right now, which is like pretty cool that I'm speaking to you awesome people? So what does fulfillment look like for you? So that's the difference between growth and scale. When you grow, you can accomplish some of these things, but at the expense of others. When you scale, you can have it all. You cannot have time freedom if every second that you're working, you're making money, and every second that you're not working, you're not making money. It doesn't exist. You have to trade something off. So here's something that Bill Gates said. Tony Robbins actually was credited for it, unfortunately, because Bill Gates was the one who said it originally. But people will often, usually, most people will overestimate what they can accomplish in 1 year and underestimate what they can do in 10. So let's look at this right now. There's 3 business models. You got the white one right at the bottom. That's stagnant. They may make money. That's fine. And by the way, there's no shame in any of these things if that's what you want your life to look like. If you want to build, it's going to sound negative, but if you want to build a shack and you're content with that, there's nothing wrong with that, right? As long as you're looking after the people, looking after the things that are important to you. But that's a stagnant business. Then there's a growing business. Then there's a scaling business. Now, for the entire white area of that graph, the person who's growing is farther than the person who's scaling. And this is really where the people who you all know about, the guys like David Osborne, The guys like Gary Vaynerchuk, when he was packing wine into people's trunks, and his friends from school would drive up in their BMWs and think, this is awesome, Gary's packing my trunk. He was scaling. The people were growing, were looking down on him. They didn't know what was coming. And I don't know how long it might take for you to get to that tipping point, but when that does, in 10 years from now, you'll be at the top of that business, top of that scalable business, and the people who look at you will say, good for him, good for her, overnight success. They don't know what went into it, but you need to consistently be okay with what you're doing and not be looking at other people unless to inspire yourself. So now I'm going to actually teach you how to do it. We spoke a lot about the theory, the concept. There are 3 things that you need to know in order to scale your business. There's a 3-step process that I follow. Now, full disclosure, each of these steps is comprised of 3 sub-steps. So step 1 is build a brand that sells. You need a brand. That's the foundation. Of building a brand, there are 3 steps. I'm only going to talk about one of them for each step because what Stephanie said, I'm going to impart all of my wisdom on you. I have half an hour, so I think if I could do that, that would be a big problem. What is he doing here? Anyway, so the 3 steps of building a brand that sells is number 1, your visual identity. We're going to get into that very briefly. Number 2 is what's your messaging? And this is, I'm not going to talk about, but it's so important. Who are you talking to and what are you saying to them? Who's your avatar? Like, people don't make avatars. They just don't. And when they make an avatar, they go, I don't know, women who are about 30, 35 years old, maybe like 1 or 2 kids. That's not an avatar. That's like a range. I'm talking about a person. Who is the person? Diane Smith, who's 37 years old, has 2 kids, whatever. Create that person. And also, what makes you different? Guys, customer service, it's good. It's a prerequisite. It's not a differentiation, right? So those are the first 2. And then lastly is exposure. That's what I'm going to talk about, how to get that exposure. Secret number 2 is how to automate your pipeline. First one is how to automate and streamline your social media work. Not going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about the second and the third. The second one is mapping out the pipeline. After you've identified who your avatar is, mapping out what takes them from one step to the next. And then lastly is creating the actual campaigns so that you don't have to follow up with them. I know Shelby was talking a lot about this before, about the systems and 100%. And as she started talking, I was like, oh, shoot, this is going to be my speech, and then I'm done. But I think this is actually a pretty good sequel, so thank you. Creating the campaigns so that you can work less, right? Because that's really what it's all about. I'm like anti-hustle culture. I hate it. I finish working at like 5, maybe 6 o'clock every day. I basically always have. I'd be lying if I told her that I always do, but I usually do. And I don't think, unless you're like wired differently, which most of us aren't, you should be working 19, 20 hours a day. And then lastly is scaling with lead generation. So we've got brand, automate, scale, and there are 3 subsections of scaling. The first one is with free lead generation. That's always got to be first. The second one is with paid lead generation. Once you actually start to make the money from the transactions from the free lead generation, start putting money into the paid lead generation. And then lastly is through distribution channels like YouTube, podcast, and that's really when you can scale. So now I'm going to talk about what of each secret I'm actually going to say. Number 1, building a brand that sells. How to leverage your friends and family to get onto the first page of Google in less than 1 month. Stephanie, this works, right? Yeah. Okay, fantastic. It works. Secret number 2, how to automate your pipeline, how to automatically nurture your entire database for literally years at a time without lifting a finger. All you got to do is set it up one time. Also, Shelby mentioned this, right? There's going to be a lot of that. I'm just going to stop. Everything Shelby kind of touched on, but one time, and then you're good. And then last thing is how to scale with lead generation, how to scale your business with 100% free lead generation. Now, full disclosure, these are not, it happens to be some of them are like ninja hacks, but for the most part, you just gotta do it. It's about prioritizing the hour that you sit down and map out your customer journey instead of responding to every email by hand, right, or manually. But instead of doing all of that stuff, you have to stop, put that to the side, and sit down for a couple hours. Your life will change, right? Stephanie, I'm gonna call on you again. How long did it take for us to build out that rawhide buyout process, that system? Okay, I thought it was longer than 10 minutes. You're making me look really good. 15 minutes, guys. It was a journey. But yeah, it's just about stopping what you're doing and working smarter, not harder. That's everything that I'm about. Work smarter, not hard. So now let's look at secret number 1, building a brand that sells. So just quickly touching on the first 3, visual identity. What is that? What logo is that, guys? IKEA? Who said IKEA? Good man, yeah, IKEA, 100%. There's like not really much to go off. That's their visual identity, right? Nobody knows color codes. That could have been any shade of yellow, any shade of blue, but because it's those ones, you all know that's visual identity. Messaging is what's your avatar, who's your avatar, and who you're talking to. Lamborghini knows exactly who they're talking to. They know exactly what makes them different, and they know also what people want to look like and feel like when they get into their car, which allows them to very easily create a brand around that. But now I'm going to talk to you about exposure, getting onto the first page of Google. So I talk about brand like getting ready in the morning. You've got to get dressed, put on the right stuff. That's your visual identity, but then you got to walk outside. So you can rank onto the first page of Google in under 30 days, even if you're a brand new agent, if by following these 3 steps. Number 1 is create and verify your Google My Business page or profile. It's turning into Google Business, I think, but same thing, same idea. Most of us have, raise your hand if you have a Google My Business page. Great, fantastic. Step 2, which looks like half of you guys are already on step 2, optimize your profile for the keyword that you want to rank for. So here in Austin, it might be competitive to be like realtor in Austin. But if you can think of like subsections and like Cedar Park, I don't know if that's like a big area here or if it's just a street, but let's say Cedar Park is a town or an area around here. If you can optimize your page for realtors in Cedar Park, you can go on Google, type in realtors in your town, see how many reviews are on the first page of Google. If you've got people with 0 reviews or let's say 10 reviews with like 3.2 star ratings, man, you guys could get them off of the first page, I swear to God, in like a week. I've literally done this, gotten people to the first page in a weekend. It happens, it's so not hard. And then lastly, and this is the most important thing, is start generating performance and character reviews. So first off, most of the people say, I don't really get reviews because they don't know how to. I don't really honestly know why, but they don't get reviews. Then you got some people like, no, I'm actually really good at getting reviews. I ask every single time I do a transaction with somebody and it closes, I ask them to leave me a review, but nobody does character reviews. So this is a people-based industry. If I spoke to my brother, let's say friends. If I spoke to my friends, my aunt, uncle, nieces, nephews, if they're old enough, whatever it is, and say, do you mind just leaving a review, letting people know about my work ethic? And they say, but I haven't done a transaction with you. It's like, no, I'm not asking you to lie. Just talk about me as an individual because it's a people-based industry. You're telling me you couldn't find 20 people that are willing to spend 10 seconds writing you something positive, that are willing to give you a 5-star review? How long would it take you to get 20 reviews? And I want you to literally, when you have a chance, go look up realtor in whatever town you're in. Don't do big city, think smaller town. And you'll see that on the first page of Google, sometimes right at the top, they'll have like 4 reviews. You can knock that off so quickly and you will get transactions from that. The difference between being obsolete online and being on page 1 is usually just a simple optimized GMB page, literally first name, last name. So Oliver Borr - realtor in, I don't know, Burlington, Ontario, wherever you're from. And then getting character reviews, 10 to 20 reviews. That's the difference. So now let's get into secret number 2. Everyone's good right now? Everyone's following this? Okay, fantastic. So I'm not going to talk about social media, but how to automatically nurture your entire database for years at a time by mapping it out one time. So let's go back. Let's pretend that we've already created our avatar. For argument's sake, let's call this avatar John, right? So John Smith, whatever. So what takes John Smith from awareness, from knowing I exist, to considering using me as a realtor, to actually converting and buying or selling their house with me, to eventually referring other people to you? So if you ask the right questions about each one of those stages, you can map it out. So how did John find me? What motivated him to reach out? What questions does he have about me? What's stopping him from hiring me? That's just knowing I exist. Now we're starting to get a little bit farther on the journey, right? What actions does John need to take to hire you? What's his motivation? I'm just gonna fast forward a little bit. Conversion. What actions does John need to take to actually pull a trigger and sell or buy? What do I need him to do? I need him to book a call. How do I make that happen, right? What's his motivation to look for a realtor in the first place, right? What questions does he have about the process? And then lastly, what does he need to do in order to refer other people? Do you have like a promotional product or, I don't know, whatever it is, like an affiliate link, whatever needs to happen? Maybe he just needs to be asked. Maybe she just needs to be asked. So do it. That's it. And when you map that out and you've answered those questions, this is where it takes the discipline, because this is where it's about working smarter, not harder. And it's really difficult to do this. It's really difficult to answer these stupid questions when you have things that are looming large over your head. But it's the ones that scale, the ones that push that to the side are okay with the chaos in the background and can compartmentalize. So now, once you've done that, I've now created 12 months of follow-up. So each one of these lines represents a month of follow-up. Let's say it's just 12 emails. So each line is an email. Sprinkle in every 4 to 5 days or so just to check in, hey, how's it going? It's been a while. A text, right? A voicemail. Most of your CRMs have a voicemail drop, an automatic voicemail drop. Inabox has it, Hamburg, brag, whatever. Okay, so let's look at each one of those things. The first email. Right now they have no idea you exist. So you want to take them from 0 to knowing about you a little bit, right? Then the next email, you kind of sprinkle in a little bit more of that awareness thing. By answering those questions in those 12 emails that you're sending out, that's what's going to create this. And each email as it goes on, you're literally pushing the conversation forward. Think about any relationship that you've ever had. You go out with a person, you don't know each other, and then you don't start talking about, like, I think I really want to spend the rest of my life with you. Frickin' wait until 12 months for that, bro, right? Hopefully longer, but this is a recreation of that. You don't come out of the gate speaking, you say, so what do you do? Right? That's the first one. And then you start talking about yourself maybe when you have that rapport from time to time a little bit. You just move it along. So then once they're all the way in awareness, once they fully know who you are, get to month 5, start talking a little bit more about what you do and why they should work with you and your expertise and this and that. A little bit more. And then casually when you get to month 9, start talking about why now is the right time to sell if they're interested. No pressure. And then the next one, month 10, maybe push it a little bit. Maybe month 11, now is the time, guys. We got to go. And then month 12, it's like, let's go. Add value throughout. Literally follow this process. By answering the questions, most people will write 12 emails in a month and in a day anyway. You're writing 12 emails in a day. Just work smarter. That's it. Write those same 12 emails, just answer questions in those emails. Everything good still? All right, guys, I love it. Which takes us to the last thing, which is how to actually scale. Now, I try not to speak hyperbolically whenever I can. So I spoke about 100% free lead generation. I meant it. So I'm going to teach you how to scale your business with 100% free lead generation. Now, I've got 3 main methods that we talk about. So the company in the back, Diego's company, I think it was REI Call Center or something like that. So I asked him if he can do this. He said he could. So I'm not being paid to sponsor him right now, but he said he could do this. So if you're like, how do I do this? Speak to him. Literally get a list of landlords. Right? Ask 4 questions. Number 1, have you ever thought about selling your investment property? I know there's a lot of investors here. They're like, I would never sell. Okay. Number 1 is, have you ever thought about selling your property? Number 2 is, do you have any other rental properties that you might be interested in selling one day? Number 3 is, have you ever thought about purchasing another one to add to your portfolio? Number 4 is, do you know anybody else? Yes, it's cold calling, and I know at the beginning I said you're not going to have to cold call. First off, I got non-cold calling ones coming up soon. But also, like, these guys are money makers. They're investors. They know the game. If you're an investor and somebody calls you and you're yelling at them like, bro, like, you're in the wrong space. They get this. And you know that they're qualified because they own a home. So that's landlords. Nice and simple enough. Everybody, raise your hand if you want me to stay on this slide. Okay, no hands. That's good. Okay. The next one. Full disclosure, you need to set up your automations for this one. If you try running this without automations, you will burn yourself out. So we talk, like, there's basically 2 camps when it comes to online leads. People go, freaking online leads, bro, it's the best thing ever. You can scale your business. It's true, but it's not as simple as that. And other people are like, online leads are the worst. I hate online leads, and I wouldn't touch them with a 10-foot pole. Also true, but it's not as simple as that, okay? And it's because if you're generating, let's say, 100 online leads, and only 2 of them are going to convert, so that's 2%, and of the 2 that convert, they'll only do it after 12 touch points. You've got 100 people that you're trying to touch, have at least 12 touch points. That's 1,200 touch points for 2 transactions, maybe 7 months down the road. Like, yeah, online lead generation sucks for you. So set up your automations properly before you do this. So a Facebook Marketplace ad is the exact same as just a regular Facebook ad. The only difference is it's free. So it's free, but it's less predictable. So it's a trade-off. The first thing you want to have is an offer. List of homes in your area starting from a median house price. How much is your home worth? Whatever the heck it is that you want to offer. When you know who your John is, when you know who your avatar is, make that offer for them because that's who you're going for. In the description from your Facebook Marketplace ad, put a link to a landing page. Again, your CRM should be able to do that. Inabox can, whatever. Landing page with a survey. In that survey, let's say you're running a buyer campaign, you can ask, do you own a home? If they do, if they own a home, what are they? A seller lead, right? So you can literally get seller leads out of this also. So send them to a landing page with a survey. You've got your automatic follow-up set up. You've already done that. Send them right into there, and then literally just transition them into the long-term follow-up. All done. Free, 100%. Doesn't generate business one day, that's okay. Wait until the next. You're all good. Which takes us to the last one. And this one right here is a freaking mind freak right now, I'm going to tell you. So Brad Vanderwall, who is a outstanding agent, really good guy. Again, if you don't like cursing, not your guy. But if you could look past that, he's just like a stupendous person. Brilliant, like a hustler, but in a good way. Not like hustle culture hustle, but like actual. So here's what you do. You reach out, you partner with local vendors, right? So let's say landscaping company, pool maintenance, professional stagers, whatever it may be, these local vendors. And you say, you say, I want you to be able to offer your services for retirement residents. Would you do that? They're obviously not going to say no. Great, now you've got those guys. So you go up to marketing directors now in retirement residents and you say, I've connected with all of these people that I've personally vetted to make sure that they're top notch. And I know that they're good and they'll do a great job. So when you have somebody moving into your home that you're trying to say as a marketing director, you need to move in because we have the best healthcare, assuming they're worth their salts, they'll stop talking about themselves for a moment and they'll start asking, what are you looking for in a home, right? When that point happens and the retirement resident prospect starts saying, I can't move into your home because who's going to look after my pool? I don't know how much my home is worth. Who's going to look after my lawn, all of this stuff? They will say, I got a guy for you, don't worry. And they'll give you your information. So you make a brochure, you give it out to, let's say, 14 different marketing directors, 20, as many as you want in your area. Visit them every other week, give them brochures, consistently give them marketing materials. They will promote you. And the great thing is even in a market like this, where it's harder to find, or I guess a couple months ago, where it's really hard to get buyers into homes, they're not buyers. These retirement residents aren't buyers, they're just selling. You don't have to find them a home. The other thing is they just want an easy transaction. They don't want to nickel and dime and this and that. They're either the professional kids of the people or the people themselves. I just want to be happy, bro. Right? Like Matt and Jeremy were talking about yesterday, what do they want? Not everybody wants top dollar. Do they want top dollar? I don't know. So oftentimes these guys don't. They just want a simple transaction. These are the best leads that you'll get, and you're leveraging your time. Because if you find 20 marketing directors, keep in touch with them. It's only 20 leads you got to keep in touch with, but they have access to 10, 20, 50, 100 leads, whatever it is. If you get 1 or 2 more transactions a year from that, that's a career. You don't even have to do anything else. You have to keep in touch with the marketing directors. So now to recap. Scale is better than growth. The reason is because scale is exponential as opposed to growth, which is incremental. You work X amount, you make X amount. And in order to scale, you need to, number 1, build a brand that sells. Number 2, you need to automate your pipeline, your processes, your systems. And then number 3, eventually, when you're ready, when you've got the foundation set, you scale with lead generation. Now again, full disclosure, while you're setting up part 1 and part 2, you'll have agents that are taking care of everything, answering every single phone call, and doing every single blessed thing under the sun that they need to do to be successful, that are like, bro, man, just I don't know, man, I'm selling more than you. You got to listen to me because I know what I'm doing. But you're setting the stage, right? Remember, in the exponential person, Gary Vaynerchuk wasn't making more than the people he was stacking their trunks. So you've got to be okay with, I'm setting the right steps, I'm doing it right, it will pay off. Right? And then eventually, obviously, you're ready to scale with lead generation. So that's really what this is. So brand, automate, scale. It will give you a repeatable system that will allow you to fill your pipeline with hundreds of leads, literally on demand, without working harder. And that's the step for me. So build a brand that sells, so that leads start calling you. Automate your tasks that you don't have to worry about outreach or follow-up or nurture or anything like that. And lastly, fill your scale engine, which is the whole system right now. We call it a scale engine, with leads on demand so that your pipeline is consistently filled with business. But again, before you do start implementing this 3-part scale engine, it's absolutely imperative that you recognize that just like Jeff Bezos is not an e-commerce agent, and just like Elon Musk is not a travel agent, you are not a real estate agent, you are a real estate business owner. Thank you, guys. So as a final thing before we do get to the questions, here's my email right now. Obviously, please do email me if you have any questions at any point in time. oliver@inabox.com. We actually do run 5-day challenges. The next 5-day challenge is going to be on May 30th, where we'll break down the entire scale engine over the course of 5 days. And so you'll get a lot more in depth about it. So follow me online and reach out at any point in time.
Questions? So I got to catch most of that as I was driving, watching the live stream on the way back. So awesome, Oliver.
Thank you.
Awesome. Do you mind just touching on that last? It was the retirement residences, that strategy.
So I can explain it again?
Yeah, just really quickly.
Less theatrical this time, though.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I know my time. Yeah, so you partner with local vendors, like a landscaping company, pool maintenance, like I said, decluttering services, whatever those things are. So the same exercise that we did about mapping out the customer pipeline, you're basically doing that for retirement residents. So figure out what the retirement residents in your area need, partner with those services, and then go up to the marketing director, create a brochure about yourself and why you created this program to help retirement residents in their time of transitioning into like a retirement home, whatever it is. You create the marketing materials for yourself, go into retirement residence, speak to the marketing director and say, I have this cool program that will literally allow you to when somebody says, I can't move into your home because I have a lawn I got to worry about, I've got this and that, you say, this guy will take care of everything. And you're making that process easy for them. So you're making it easy for the marketing director, they're making it easy for them, and the marketing director sure as hell is making it easy for you.
It's just all about adding value, and I just wanted to chime in on that one because Brad Van de Waal is the creator of the coaching program. I was his first female coach, and I just liked him and wanted to join him because of all of his bad words and his compassion, and he's super brilliant. And then Oliver getting in our mix too is just top notch. Anyone have any more questions for Oliver? I mean, he covered anything and everything I feel like you could have even thought of. Any more comments, questions?
If anybody does have any questions, because there was a lot obviously that I didn't talk about in the actual scale engine process, if anybody does have any questions, either catch me afterwards or register for that challenge. Again, there's the link, goinabox.com/5-day challenge. And we're writing a roadmap for you. At the end of it, if you're like, I'd rather just work hard, that's fine also. But if you want to scale, there it is. It's free.
Thank you so much, Oliver. That was amazing.
Thank you, guys.